Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. I'm with Sylvia Jacobs, and what fascinates me is we've been Zooming for the last couple of weeks, getting acquainted, doing stuff, and we just now spent an hour and 3 minutes just chatting about the world and about movies and books and stuff, especially about books because that's why we're here. Sylvia is a freelance book and movie reviewer. She's an influencer. She's a podcaster. She has her own Facebook group. She'll tell you about that. And of course, I don't remember, Sylvia, how we got together. You'll tell me when in a minute or so. But she has a growing, successful Books and More 1818 group on Facebook, and she reviews books. And I wrote a book that got the Kirkus star. There's a tortoise in my hair, a journey to spirit. So it was this, and now I got to plug myself. What the hell? I've been compared to Philip Roth, writing style, Kurt Vonnegut, uh, Slaughterhouse Five, John Irving, The World According to Garp. So I wrote something of substance, and Sylvia and I got together, and I can't remember how, and we've done some Zooms, we got acquainted. And here we are, and of course I was a guest. We're doing one of these home and home series, like the Yankees and Mets did the other day. The Yankees won yesterday. We're doing a home and home series, and of course I got baseball stuff all over my room. Even though I was born into being a Brooklyn Dodger fan a long time ago, but the great chemistry. Sylvia amazes me with her depth and her enthusiasm and her passion and what she's doing for the world of independent authors, of which I am one, and the work she does. And she read my book and liked it. Kind of like that Life cereal commercial. Remember that? Mikey he likes it, so she liked my book. So great chemistry. And here we are. So this was, we talked about this too. This was my Johnny Carson monologue, Sylvia. So I'm done. I turn it over to you to do a little background, and then we're gonna talk. Take it away.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction. And yes, I did read your book and I loved it. How did we meet? LinkedIn, of course.
Ah,
Believe it or not, I joined LinkedIn a few months ago. And take a look, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at my connections, you'll pass out. I have more than over 1,000 connections within a few months. I've met so many great creatives, especially you, Calvin. And that was great. The introduction, like I said, and here's Calvin. I just wanted to throw that in. I'll tell you a little background about myself. I became an avid reader when I was just 8 years old. My dad worked in the library and he brought home my very first book to read. He's like, "Hey, Sylvia, I want you to read this book. This is going to be your very first book that you're going to enjoy, and give me a little feedback on it after you read it." That book was, guess, guess, what book do you think it was, Calvin?
uh,
It was about fables and a very popular book when we were
Aesop,
little kids. Yes,
Aesop.
that was the book, Aesop's Fables. I said, "This book is great. I'm reading a book, and what? At the end of each little fable is a little moral of the story." I was so fascinated. I went out right after finishing that book. I wanted to tell all my friends what that book was about and what each moral of the story was. I thought it was the greatest thing. And I thanked my dad and I told him, "You have to keep bringing me more and more books." And I haven't stopped reading ever since. And movies, the same thing with movies. I think the first movie I ever fell in love with was Star Wars. I went with my aunt and uncle and my parents and my brother, and I was just fascinated and blown away by the magic of that movie, Star Wars. The lighting, the special effects. It just got me talking for like months. I knew everything about that movie. And my aunt said to me, she said, "Sylvia, why were you so fascinated about this movie? I saw the same movie. I thought it was great, but you won't stop talking about it. I think you need an audience. And, and then the years went by and my dad still worked in the library. And then the pandemic hit. The pandemic hit us all hard. And I was home and I said, what am I going to do now? We can't go anywhere. My kids are already grown. I said, I have to bring everyone together. Everyone's home. They're sad. We can't do anything. But yet we have Zoom and we have Facebook and we can make groups. So I created my own Facebook group called Books and More 1818. And I decided I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. Of course, my daughter inspired me because first I started joining other Facebook groups. And sorry to say, but they weren't so friendly with their rules. They were a little strict. So my daughter was like, create your own group, Ma. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. How do you do that? So I said, all right, I'll try. She inspired me. She always inspires me, my daughter. And she's a teacher, middle school math teacher. I said, I'm going to try it. So I actually sat for a few hours, I would say the first week. It took me hours and hours. And I started gathering people, connecting people, and more people started coming into my group. And I said, this is great. So I started with authors. Then I grew into producers, screenwriters, teachers, you name it. Everyone's in my group. And it's a 360 group from around the world. And then people were giving me feedback like, Sylvia, this is great. I said, what more can I do to help them? Because I love talking to people. I love helping people. I want to make it even better, more and more. So I said, I'm going to create a YouTube channel, a Spotify channel. I'm going to review their books. I'm going to interview them on my shows. I'm going to do PR for them. And it's going to be great. I'm just going to help people. And so far, so good. I mean, we're growing and growing more and more every day. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, X, you name it. It's Sylvia Reviews, maybe on X. It's Books and More 1818 on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. And I get to meet other great creatives who actually do what I do, like Calvin, who also inspires me. He does a great job. Like he said, we were talking for like an hour. We probably could talk for another 3 hours, but we had to cut it off. Otherwise, we'd never get the interview in. So
Interesting. By the way, the work you do is so needed. I've been sitting in this chair for 18 months as a new self-published author, my second self-published venture, and there are armies. I call it actually a wasteland. I came up with this term. There was a beatnik. They call these guys beatnik poets back in the 50s, named Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and I think he wrote Wasteland, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but anyway, I use the term wasteland, and I don't use it in a negative way. Wasteland is just a ton of people like myself, men and women they put their dreams in their life, and I did 5 years, 5 years sitting here for 5 years writing a dream, and then trying to get published. And of course, most people don't find a publisher or an agent. That's just the way it is. I never did, even though I have a Kirkus store now. But but then people like yourself come along and open up, and you embrace and you engage, and you emote. I'm doing the E words now. You do these 3 E words, and you help, and you're a great source and help for this world of self-published people who have only dreams and put so much into it, and it's a hard, as Bob Dylan so eloquently wrote, it's a hard rain. So kudos to you and gratitude to you and thanks to you, what you do, and the embracing of self-published authors. By the way, do you ever Did you ever interview somebody who actually had an agent or an author or a publisher?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Did.
Okay, I take it back. I thought you.
I did. But
Okay,
very few.
yeah,
Very few.
very few. Because
Very few. Yeah.
they're letting their publisher and it's funny. Um, yesterday, Saturday afternoon, we had a little family gathering, and my granddaughter had a recital, and I'm sitting with um, a family member by marriage, and one thing led to another, and he knows I wrote a book because he actually named his son after my character. So that's a hell of a bond, Cameron.
Wow. Wow.
Boom. And he informs me that he's got as one of his close cousins has a big publishing company.
Oh, wow.
So I said, well, thank you. I don't mention names, but thank you. I could have used you, like 2 years ago. That would have been a big help, but so be it. But anyway, let's go back. Um, do you enjoy, I'm sure you do, but do you enjoy being a book reviewer and an influencer? And that is so important. Talk about, you enjoy that stuff?
I love it. I'm actually getting to do what I dreamed of doing when I was a little kid. So I really enjoy it because I love helping people. I love getting to meet new people like yourself. I've met so many people, so many from different walks of lives, amazing authors, screenwriters, movie producers, um, teachers. The list goes on and on from many different professions, from many different parts of the world. As I run a 360 group, I love talking, as you can see. I'm not shy, even though I used to be as a kid. I love helping people. I love inspiring people. When you come on my show, you tell me about your book. I read it from cover to cover because that's how much I like it. I'm not going to lie. If there's something I didn't like about your book, I might tell you in passing, but I'll never put it in a review. But most of the books I've been reading have been pretty good, pretty good. I never give a bad review because that hurts the author, but I'm genuine. I will tell you what I thought. Definitely. Your movie, your book. I give advice because sometimes a new author doesn't know where to start. How do I start? So I give them advice on what sites to go on, how to
Yeah.
actually start, and where you're going to get the most um, value for your buck. Anything I can do to help them because I want to help. My dad was an author too. He didn't make much out of it. It was hard. He put so much work into it. I saw what he went through. And I actually love writing myself, but maybe one day I'll write a book. I don't know. But I like writing the review. I put all my heart and soul into that review. So I try to make it as good as possible, especially if I love the book, to help the author or the producer if it's a movie. I'm only there to help, not to hurt. We never ever want to give a bad review. If you didn't like it, just don't review it, but be nice about it. But yes, I enjoy it. I love it. Like it was so nice meeting you, Calvin. Very
Cool.
nice. And I loved your book as well.
Thank you.
And if you haven't read his book, ladies and gentlemen, you really should. He has like, I'm not kidding you, 4 or 5 books in that one book. It is loaded with so much information. It's great. Show us that book again. I can't help myself. I love
Well, thank you.
interviewing.
There's a
It's
tortoise in
great.
my
There's a
hair.
tortoise in my hair. So much information. I've never read a book like that. It's great. I recommend it.
Thank
Try
you.
it, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see.
Thank you.
Hmm.
The funny
And you better
thing,
write another book soon.
the funny thing, Sylvia, is I'm working now with a woman who's a best-selling author, and she said what you just said. It's so funny. She said there's 4 books stuck in here that want to come out. So she and I are now collaborating in book 1. Uh, um, that I'm extracting from there. I'm not going to give anything away, but we're well into that project. And it's funny. I thought being at it, being approaching octogenarian status in 2 months, that I'm done.
It
I'm
don't look good.
done writing, and I want to sit on a rocking chair and drink prune juice on the rocks and relax.
No, no.
So, quoting a line from Godfather 3, just when I wanted to get out of this stuff, I get
Go back in.
pulled back in.
They
So
say that
now,
it's The Sopranos too,
yeah,
on
so I got four more
Sopranos.
books. I have four more books to write, but these are fast. Couple of months, boom. And she's going to work with me on one side, and I'll do the other. The other thing I wanted to say to you, and it really resonated with me so much, is as a journalist, I was always called upon to review a lot of music. So I was constantly getting CDs sent to me and music sent to me.
Hmm.
I never had to review a book, and I still won't. That's too much work. Um,
It's a lot of
but
work,
I always
hours and
gave
hours.
positive. In other words, I looked for the positive things in whatever I was reviewing, and I never. And I said the same thing. If there was just so much about something I didn't like, then I'd stop and I wouldn't review it. So I looked for the positivity in each project, just like
Yes,
you. And
that's
so,
exactly what I do.
and then,
Exactly. I
yeah,
always look for the positivity in each and every project. And I inspire the author as well. You have to inspire. And when I interview the author, I also, and a lot of you guys, you put out great work, but you don't know it. You just don't know it. You say, did you really like that? What did you like about that? I said, you're kidding me. And I sit there and I'm thinking, how does that person not know that this stuff is great? They wrote a masterpiece and they don't even know it. They don't know it. It just it shocks me, I guess. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well,
You know?
because it's hard. It's hard to get. It's such a hard journey. When I finished writing, this, I made a terrible mistake. It was unedited, and I was so excited after 5 years that I finished that I sent it. I sent 180 query letters out
Wow.
to
Wow.
agents, and
Wow.
I knew this story was a really good story. I knew
Yes.
that,
Yes.
but I had, and I shouldn't have made this mistake, but I did. And I knew better, but I was so excited to finally have finished. So I literally wrote over a month or two, 150, 180 query letters, and I have a list of all the agents that I wrote to, and of course I never heard back from one, not one, not no submission, don't send it, nothing. Because now agents use AI.
Yes.
You send them, one or two or three chapters, and they stick it into AI, and they look for mistakes. And this is actually it's a comedy thing. Maybe if I'm on Jimmy Fallon one day, and I can tell them. So when I after 180 rejections, I didn't even know I got rejected until you go looking. Sometimes they tell you, but I never got and I wondered why. And then I had somebody to help me, and she said, you ought to take a look at it and see if there's a mistake. But anyway, I stuck my first chapter into Grammarly after I submitted and got 180, rejections. I stuck it into Grammarly. I signed up for Grammarly, stuck it there, and on the first page, this is funny. First page, 50, five
Wow.
mistakes.
Wow. Wow.
However, and I had my wife and my son and my daughter-in-law, everybody edited, and we
Wow.
had 50 mistakes, but they weren't 50 mistakes. 25 were mistakes, whether it's a comma and whatever. The other
Oh.
25 was my style, is a little bit unique and different.
Mm.
But anyway, there was 25 mistakes, and then the next page, 20 real mistakes. At which point I stopped and
Huh.
realized that in life, if you want to do something, you got to do it right. And so then I searched around and got an amazing editor, an
Huh.
amazing editor. She's a 15-year veteran of
Wow.
publishing, and I got to her through a connection, and she actually liked what she read, and she said, I'll take the job. And it
Sure.
took her 3 months, and it was great because She went from I sent her 125,000 words and 95,000 came back. So she got rid of a third.
Ah, yes.
What you
Yes.
read.
I have to talk about that. A lot of authors write good books, but sometimes I have to say this, you put too much fluff into it because you're telling a great story. It starts off great, the middle is great, but sometimes the ending goes awry because it should have ended already. But there's so much fluff that could have been taken out. For instance, if I'm reading a story, I'm reading, let's say, a memoir. We're talking about someone's life, good, perfect. But then it somehow goes off on some tangent when it's not really so much about your life. You're talking about something else, but that's just fluff in the book. I don't need to know that. Stay on pace, stay on target. Not to say the book isn't a good book, but cut out that fluff. It doesn't have to be, let's say 400 pages. It could be 350. It could be 200 or 250, but keep it on pace, keep the words flowing, don't go off topic.
Well,
It's
what you
very
said
important.
is brilliant. And and again, I don't know enough. So when she sent me back the manuscript, and I respected her so much, her journey and the work she does. And so when she got, and it's funny, each word is like a child to me as an author. Each sentence, each paragraph, each chapter. It's my heart and soul. And so she got rid of a third of it, and there wasn't one knee jerk reaction to that. It was total, complete acceptance. She's the boss. I don't know anything about this stuff, so I accepted everything she did. Although there was one minor little knee jerk. I had a whole chapter, and she wanted me to get rid of it, and it's something I liked. The two characters are driving 100 miles an hour on the turnpike, debating the Vietnam War and stuff and stuff and stuff. And I said it was a very precious chapter. I said, how about if I take those 15 pages and I make it two paragraphs? And she
Better,
said, fine.
better, better. You know why? Because you would have gone off topic again. I read your book, which I loved, but better idea. I agree with, I totally agree.
Yep.
Short and sweet.
Yep.
It's okay if you do that.
Correct.
Yes.
So
Excellent.
when it was done, and I'm holding, and it took me literally weeks to make some of the more intricate changes that my voice and my style, everything is preserved, but and she just got rid of a lot of excess. So then I felt confident. I said, "What the hell? It's certainly it's clean. Let me just
Yes.
let me send it to Kirk as a goof." And then 3 months later, Kirk is star and great review, and they compared me to John Irving, and it's like wow, you know what I
See
mean?
that?
It's a
Yeah.
wow. I want to go off topic right now with you, and one of my favorite questions. You don't even have to answer it, but it's cute, and so here goes. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead, you'd like to spend a day with.
My mother. My mother. She was like my best friend. She was so nice. Let me put it out to you, ladies and gentlemen. My mother was legally blind.
Oh wow.
Legally blind.
Wow.
And when I was a little kid, she would pick me up from school, which was 5 blocks away. She would walk and pick me up. She was able to see enough to do that. I came home. She helped me with my homework, played games with me whenever I wanted to, cooked for me, spent so much of her time with me, and was always kind, inspiring, and God, I wish I had 5 minutes with her more. My mother, yes, I cherished her. Oh, yes, definitely. My mom.
Great answer. Hey, great answer. And, I have my picture of my mom sitting, that's been looking at me now for the past 20 years, sitting right over there as I sit at this computer 12 hours a day,
Mm,
looking at my mother, in particular. And I have all my relatives, my grandfather, who I'm pretty close to,
mm.
my grandmothers and my dad and actually my in-laws. So they're all there. And if you channel hard enough, and if you get lucky, I told you the story. You know, my mother hopped out of a picture,
Yeah. Yeah.
typed mom on my cell phone. Long story, not for now.
Hmm.
All right. So you're writing book reviews, so you love this process of writing book reviews. And by the way, it's a hard, that's a hard job to read and to write. Uh, and parenthetically, uh, let me throw this in, slightly off topic, but do you ever use AI to guide you?
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Because when I'm crafting and writing, I do it all by myself. But I do use it sometimes because you don't want to make grammatical errors. You want it just right. So I use it to fine tune the grammatical errors, but it's all me. It's all
good,
my writing.
okay,
Yes.
good,
Yes.
good. Because I stumbled, I stumbled upon AI. I've interviewed several people who talked about AI, and one we had a continuing series talking about AI, and I was introduced to three separate AI entities, and from time to time I test. Not only it has nothing, even I test them. What should I have for dinner tonight? I mean, I ask stupid things.
Don't
And
we all?
yeah, I
Don't
ask
we
stupid
all?
things, and lo and behold, it's scary good.
Yeah. Listen, we don't if we don't use it, we'll be behind on the technology. It helps you hone your craft.
Correct.
It's very necessary. Everyone's doing it.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a new career that is emerging, a legitimate career. It's called a prompt engineer.
Uh-huh.
The most important thing about using AI is you got to know how to ask it what you want to get.
That's right.
So these are prompts. So if you ask it the question you want to get the answer you want, you got to ask it exactly what you want and describe it, and it'll give you. So that's a whole new career. You
But
know,
can you imagine? I spend so many hours reading the book, then crafting a review. So it's hours and hours of work. So you want to get it just perfect. So after I finish crafting it, then I put it all together. And it's okay. Like I said, let me look up my mistakes. So we get that done. And then you read it to yourself. You want to make sure it sounds good. And you put in the final touches. And if you're lucky enough, maybe if I'm lucky enough and one day I figure out how to do it, we can delve more into AI and maybe make a movie out of the book, like a book trailer. Like the book trailers are excellent, I find, or a movie trailer. Those are excellent too. I started delving that a little bit, but that's even a bigger project and takes even more time, which you got to have so many, you only have so many hours in the day, but that is very helpful. Book trailer, a movie trailer, that is what people are looking for too. Very important.
I just did my first book trailer. I threw it up.
Yes, I
I
saw it.
just
I
did it.
love it. I love it. Put it up in my group. It's
Oh, sure.
phenomenal.
Okay, I
I
will do that.
loved it. I noticed it right away.
Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah.
it took me a year and a half to have it done, and working with actually it's called AG Digital Group, uh, out in Los Angeles. They're young and dynamic, and I've been working with them, and we've been working on this. I've always wanted to have a book trailer, and you know,
Yes.
just to create a trailer to try to capture the spirit and the energy and the feeling of a book is really hard. So
Very
it
hard.
wasn't. It was a little bit of a difficult journey. It's only 51 seconds. Uh,
It's very hard. I mean, I've delved into that myself. Very, very time consuming. Like you said, it took you what, a year and a half?
yeah.
It takes a lot of time. You wouldn't think that. A short trailer,
Yeah.
a lot of work. We need time for all this. How many things can we do? I do the PR, I do the interviewing, the reviewing. I think I ran out of time, you know,
Uh,
the collaborating and
you're
finding people.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you said something interesting just now because you do movies. And we'll talk about movies in a second.
Yes.
But I interviewed for the Garden State Film Festival. I interviewed 40 actors, actresses, filmmakers, and I interviewed this young. She did a short animated 3 minute film, 3 minute film,
3 minute.
the Garden State Film Festival.
Yes.
Sophie's her first name, and she actually won. Uh,
Oh, wow.
yes, yeah, she actually won. And when I interviewed her, we talked about her thing. It was 3 minutes. It was I think it was her senior project
Wow.
in the film class down in Georgia. And she then told me it took a year. It took 1 year to make this 3 minute animated film.
You see what I'm saying? I know. I know because I delved into it myself. I said, I don't have the time for this. I'd have to give everything else up just to focus on that.
Yeah,
It is so time consuming. Oh my God.
correct.
One would not know that. It's amazing. But once they're done, they're excellent. They're excellent. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, you should check out his book trailer. You're going to like it.
Thank you.
Excellent. It's excellent.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Very good.
No, I think it captures the spirit, uh, the spirituality of the book. Uh, Even though it talks about Rutgers football, there's a spirituality. Um,
Hat, your Rutgers hat. So,
yeah, yep, always, always.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about because you and we've discovered or movie people. Let's talk about some of your favorite movies and why and stuff.
Sure, sure. Should I start?
Sure.
Well, I know your favorite movie is Casablanca because you were talking about that before. That's an excellent movie. My favorite movie, as I said before, my first movie I ever saw was Star Wars. I love Star Wars, and I already told you that before. There's actually a new Star Wars TV show. I think it's called Andorra. I'm watching that now. I started watching. It's excellent. Well, are we going to do movies and TV shows or just movies?
Oh, no rules. Do movies and TV shows. Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go and tell you a little bit of both. There is a show that I like. I watch now. My son turned me on to it. Um, it's called Daredevil. Daredevil, and there's Daredevil Born Again. When I was growing up, I loved like kung fu and karate, and I mean, not promoting fighting, ladies and gentlemen, nothing like that. We shouldn't be fighting. But in the movies or on TV show, it's a little different. So there's Daredevil Born Again, there's The Punisher. Why do I like these shows? Well, I think the cinematography is great, the acting phenomenal. It's very hard to do these roles, you know. The story, the plot, everything is they're all in sync. Everything is in sync. And I like that. I like seeing that. It's engaging, and I just want to see each and every episode. Um, let's see, in terms of other shows that I really liked, let's talk about family shows. Growing up, I love Full House. I love that show. You would sit down, the whole family, you'd watch a nice show like Full House. I love shows like that, The Brady Bunch, talking to real oldies. Um, let's see, today, let's talk about movies today. What do I like from movies today? Boy, gosh, I actually haven't been to a movie theater in ages. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm trying to think even what the last movie was I saw. Let's see. Well, I've been watching some horror films too. I saw Scream. I never used to like horror films until I saw The Exorcist. Took me, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, took me till maybe a couple years. Maybe I was, I don't know, 50 or something, let's say. I'm not
Wow.
giving away my age, but that's when I watched The Exorcist, and I actually liked The Exorcist. So I started watching other horror movies like The Shining. I love The Shining by Stephen King. That was excellent, excellent movie. Um, well, I can go on and on. What about you, Calvin?
Well, it's funny you said the Exorcist because uh, in my first marriage, I remember we went away on a vacation and I read the book and I was haunted
Oh,
by the book, really haunted.
oh
Well,
yeah, I know.
because to give to give veracity to the story of possession, I wanted medical science from reading the book and of course seeing the movie. I wanted medical science to tell me, and medical science was trying to convince uh, the mother, played by Ellen Burstyn, was trying to convince her that Reagan was possessed. No, not possessed. Was had some brain issues.
Oh no.
So they were giving her operations and drugs and stuff.
Oh,
And the mother is kind of saying it can't be that because it. But I wanted medical science back then to tell me that it's not possession, and then my response to medical science would be, well, how does a girl who's 6 or 7 or 8 years old repeat these words that she's never heard if there isn't some kind of a strange influence over her? Because she
yes,
started saying words in the book and in the movie that, are bad words. And there's no way, coming from the world that she lived in, a very proper upper middle class word. Her mother, was involved in film and movies and an actress. And so I wanted and so this was a conflict in me why I really like The Exorcist, because there's elements of believability to that. I didn't want to believe in that stuff, and I really don't. But nevertheless, I still wanted a rational explanation from medical science how this little girl, 8 or 9 or 10, however old she was, says those words that she's never heard before. So the
exactly.
movie, the movie really, from the point of movie making, uh, um, really scares the hell out of me. And I think maybe the greatest horror film ever made, because
Yes,
and the mood. I'm a mood guy. The whole mood, the music, even the color, just the texture, everything about the film
I know.
was horror.
Yes, everything. Exactly.
Was horror. But I of course, Casablanca, which changed my life. From Here to Eternity, I think I mentioned that to you before.
Mhm.
Love, love, love that movie. And one of the most powerful scenes in all of motion pictures. I'm not giving nothing away, but at the end of the movie, Deborah Carr and Donna Reed, and what they do is haunting to me. And it actually made me want to go to Hawaii, and I did go to Hawaii and
Wow.
to just retrace some of the steps from that movie. It was that powerful an influence for me. And of course, for Frank Sinatra, it remade him.
Wow.
And I watch this thing all the time, um, literally all the time, because I want to laugh and feel good. And so I watched this thing. And you mentioned Full House. I had a chance to interview Mark Price, Skippy,
Oh, aha.
twice. I met him and chatted with him.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
yeah, that
That's so
was nice.
nice. Wow.
Yeah. So, but movies are my life. Movies, they're my life. They teach and talk and help us learn and show us and entertain us and make us think. It's
Maybe your book will be made into a movie.
hey, I'm happy to I'm happy to help. By the way, I interviewed, so a long time ago, maybe 3 years, I interviewed a Wookiee from Star Wars.
Wow.
He was a Wookiee. He played a Wookiee in the movie. He's a big guy. He was 6'9".
Wow.
No, what? I forgot his name.
Wow. That's
It was like
amazing.
3 years ago. We kind of connected, and that's what he did. He was an extra in Star Wars.
Wow. Amazing. What did you think of Star Wars? Are you a Star
Uh,
Wars fan?
I watched the first one and loved it because it was so imaginative, and delightful, and there was so much to learn and take away from that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I loved it, but I it's just hard for me to get into sequels. It's hard. Do you
No,
like
I know.
sequels in general? Do you like sequels to movies?
Yes, and I'll give you an example. For instance, there's an old TV show. I actually got this. There's a book coming out. I don't know if you heard of it. If you look up on LinkedIn, you might see it's called The 86 Kids. The book is not out yet, but it's a book by Matt Sem. So he talks about his life growing up as an 86 kid. So I read that book. I interviewed him, but the book's not out. It's coming out maybe in June. But what fascinated me about that book, he spoke about TV shows in the 80s, like The Equalizer. And I can tell you every show in the 80s, I know every theme song, everything about the 80s, because I grew up in the 80s. I was a teen. I didn't know about that one. I saw the new one with Queen Latifah, but I never saw that one. So now I'm watching The Equalizer. I found it on DVD because I couldn't find it on streaming. Haven't stopped watching that show.
Wow.
The way, I mean, I like police shows, police procedurals. So what I liked about this show was he was sort of like a hero. He would protect the innocent. You know, an old show, I don't know, was in the 80s. You know, I like the way it was crafted, you know. Like I said, the new one was good too with Queen Latifah, but this one was even better. So how did I learn that? I learned about that from his book. I'm learning so much from all the books I'm reading and the movies. For instance, I wrote I wrote I read a good screenplay. Actually, yeah, it's called Nothing for Christmas by Brian Wixon. I said, what is that about? Nothing for Christmas? What I liked about that one, it was a screenplay. In the book, in the screenplay, it talks about a rabbi and someone who is a Gentile and how they get together and actually help each other through their struggles. So I like that about people getting together and helping each other. That was another good one. I like that a lot. I mean, I could tell you a whole list of things I've read or watched.
By the way, was that made into a movie? Nothing for Christmas?
Nothing for Christmas. I think there was a movie out of it, but I think he's trying to make it into a newer movie. That's what I think, but don't quote me.
Okay, because
Yeah.
somewhere in my memory banks, I went to a premiere probably 10 years ago,
Ah.
and in Red Bank.
Mm,
It was one of my early gigs as a journalist.
mm.
And I want to think I went to that,
You might have. You might have.
by the
Because
way.
I think there was something, but there is a screenplay. I reviewed it. It's in book form. And then I think they're trying to make it into a bigger movie or something of that nature. But again,
Well,
don't quote me.
well, no, I'm not going to quote you, but
Yeah.
when we're off air,
Yeah.
I'll research that. I could
Yeah.
swear I interviewed the director.
Oh,
Uh, I'm pretty sure it was that.
oh, good.
I'll let you
Yeah.
know later.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
definitely. Yeah.
Last thing to
Last thing.
you, because we could just go on and on and on. And actually,
Yeah.
I'm officially inviting you to come back. We could just talk about movies and screen. Well, we could just talk because
Yeah.
it's fascinating stuff. And I like looking at the Golden Gate Bridge anyway.
Thank you.
So last thing to ask you, Sylvia, as we do a wrap, uh, um, it's another one of these one line. Well, I have two things to ask you, but here, fill in the missing blank. Before I leave this earth, I won't be happy until I blank.
Okay. Well, before I leave this earth, I won't be happy until I get people together, collaborators with collaborators, collaborating, um, helping more authors, producers, screenwriters, and just making people smile and boosting their confidence.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Great answer. All right, last thing. How and where do we reach you? I mean, I'll have all the information there, but why don't you just throw it out?
Okay. Well, you can always reach me at my email, sylviajacobs1 at yahoo.com, or you can reach me. I'm on Stage 32, great platform. I'm on Facebook as Books and More 1818, YouTube and Spotify, again, Books and More 1818. I'm on X, Blue Sky. I'm on pretty much all the socials. I'm just not on TikTok. You'll see me there as Sylvia Reviews.
Perfect. 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 So we've come to this is a great session. This was great. We could just and you actually emoted and got me to talk more than I like to because we're talking about stuff that's so close and near and dear to me
Show
and
us your book again. I want to see it again.
oh sure. Sure. By the way, for people to know that's a real picture I took at the Jersey Shore.
Look at that turtle. Is that a turtle?
It's a real turtle.
Look at that. Isn't
It's
that
a
nice?
real. It's a
Isn't that a
real.
nice cover, ladies and gentlemen? I
Thank
love
you.
that cover.
Yep. It was
Show us the back. I want to see the back.
in the back.
Whoa,
There's
look at
actually
that.
a picture that I drew in 1970. Uh,
Wow, you drew that?
I drew that.
What is that
Actually,
picture? Wow.
here's the pic. Did I ever send you this? I'll send this to you.
No, that's lovely. What is that a picture of?
Well, it's a picture. I was protesting the war. It's 1970, and I'm about to be drafted
Oh,
to go to Vietnam,
oh,
and I was unhappy about civil rights
oh.
and the state of race relations in America and the war and things bothered me. So I wrote this. So I drew.
Wow. Do you still paint?
No,
Why?
because I don't have the time.
You're too
I would
busy
like
doing
to.
this, right?
I'll
Wow.
actually I'll email you that when we're off air.
Yeah, lovely.
Uh,
Wow.
so I can't thank you enough for being part of my journey and a nice part of my journey, and thank you so much for the stuff you do for the author community because it's so needed out there. And I invite you to come back. We could just sit here for a couple hours and talk about film and stuff and TVs and stuff and it's my life and thank you so much, Sylvia.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
much. And
Don't
thank you
leave.
for what you do. Also, we do the
Thank
same
you.
thing.
Yeah, we do the same thing, actually.
Yeah,
We do,
yeah.
and
You'll have to come back on my show too
I
then.
would love to.
Mhm,
Absolutely love to. So
mhm.
don't leave. I'm just going to stop recording. Don't leave.